Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. New mic, who dis? So I am trying out a new mic for today's video. So haven't tried it before, so you'll have to forgive me if there's any audio weirdness. But I noticed in my August TBR video that the audio was a little bit quiet. So I wanted to try out a mic to see if that would help with the audio quality for the videos, but we will see. So, this is definitely going to be a test run today. And for today's video, I thought it would be really fun to talk about all of the books on my physical TBR that I would really like to get to before the end of the summer. And I don't know if y'all can believe it, but I definitely can't. We are already in August and the fall is quickly approaching, which I am super happy about because I am so ready for fall weather. But that does mean that I am about to change all of my reads out that are on my TBR because I want to switch over to fall vibes. So let's talk about all of the books that I really, really want to read before the end of the summer. So, if you watched my recent large book haul that I posted on the channel, you would know that I hauled a few summary romance books. And I will say that I feel like a good majority of this stack does include summer romance books, but in particular, I did haul three Carly Fortune books, and these are all kind of summary romances. And I've never read any Carly Fortune, but these all seem pretty short. And from what I've heard, I think they should be easy reads. So I think these will be perfect to get that last dose of summer vibes and really enjoy something super summery before I switch over to my fall reads. So I would really like to read these Carly Fortune books, and I have Every Summer After, This Summer Will Be Different, and One Golden Summer. So fingers crossed that I like these, but these are definitely toward the top of my list for books that I would like to read because I did purchase these with the intention of reading them this summer. So I am hoping to get to those soon. Up next, while I was at the beach this summer, I read my first Annabelle Monaghan book and I really enjoyed it. And because of that, I decided to pick up two more Annabelle Monaghan books. I got these from Book Outlet, also in my haul. And same thing as the Carly Fortune books, these are just great summer romances. So I'm really hoping to read these before the end of the summer. I mean, I literally have one that is titled Summer Romance. So how could I miss reading that before the end of the summer? And again, these are both like pretty short, should be very quick reads. So I definitely think it will be achievable for me to read these and the Carly Fortune book. I'm just not sure if I'll be able to get to every single thing that I've set aside to read before the end of this summer, but I think it makes perfect sense that I would want to read my summer romances before the summer ends. So I think we'll stick with the theme of all of the romance books that I've set aside first, and then we'll talk about the few other things that I've got. But I also want to read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and I don't necessarily know that this one has anything to do with the summer, but I do know that this is a rom-com that's about someone who loves rom-coms, and it's supposed to be a very quick, easy romance. So that's another romance that I have on my list that I would really like to get to before the summer ends. I don't know about you all, but I am a super seasonal reader, and I tend to feel like romances like this that are light and airy, I don't really enjoy them as much once the summer has passed. I feel like these quick, easy romances are perfect summer reads for me, but then if I read them in other seasons, they just feel super out of place. So I'm definitely wanting to get as many of these off the TBR as possible before we move into the fall and winter months when I tend to prioritize fantasy and some of my more introspective literary fiction type books. And this summer, I also read my first Catherine Center book. So in my book outlet haul, I did pick up Hello Stranger. And again, this is just a romance that I think would be so nice to get to this summer. I really, really enjoyed my first Catherine Center read, and I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one just as much because I think she might be one of my new favorite rom-com authors or romance authors. So hopefully that is true and she does keep up the enjoyment with this book. So fingers crossed that I will also like this one, but I would definitely like to get to that one soon. And I promise we are almost done with all of the romances that I'm wanting to read. So I also have First Time Caller, and I bought this a while ago. I had major FOMO because everyone that I watch, whether they are people who normally read this type of romance or not, really, really enjoyed this book. So I picked this up pretty shortly after it came out, and I still haven't gotten to it. And one of my book clubs actually picked this as their monthly read, and I still didn't get to it that month. So this, I just feel like, even though it is a romance and that's part of why I want to read it, I also just need to stop putting off reading this and get this off of my physical TBR, because that is just unacceptable that I've missed so many opportunities to go ahead and pick up this book. And then the last contemporary romance that I have on this list is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. And I have had kind of an up and down, like rocky relationship with Ashley Poston's books. I read The 7 Year Slip a while ago, and that ended up being a 5-star read for me. There were just some really intricate layers to that romance and that character's story that I really loved and that resonated with me. And then after that, I read A Novel Love Story, and that was a pretty major disappointment for me. I feel like somebody recently described that as like a reality show set inside of a reality show, if that makes sense. And I just felt like the way they described that book made the absolute most sense for how I could describe it. Like, I think that's why it just really didn't click, because it would be different if you were reading about a modern day person dropped into a storyline that you loved, but instead of that, it was a fictional person dropped into a fictional storyline that they loved, but that the reader had no connection to, which I think made things really difficult. And then I did also read The Dead Romantics, and I really enjoyed that one. I liked that it had a very different take on things, and I really enjoyed the concepts in that book. So when Sounds Like Love came out, I did go out and buy a copy of this. I do really enjoy Ashley Poston's writing, even if A Novel Love Story didn't work for me. So I am really hopeful that I will like this one. I know that this one is music based, but I don't really know anything else about the book. And I'm really hoping that this will be another hit and not another miss for me, because if I don't enjoy this one, I probably would be a little bit more reluctant to pick up Ashley Poston's books if I have two hits and two misses from her. And I will say, I have not heard a lot of people talking about this. I haven't really heard praise for it or conversations against it. So I don't know if people are enjoying this or not. So that I think is a little bit beneficial, because I can go in completely blind, but I am still really curious to know how other people are enjoying this book. And with Ashley Poston books, I normally read them in like a day. It normally only takes me a couple hours. So I don't see any reason why I can't get to this before the summer ends. I think this will be a really quick and easy read for me. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that it will be a fun one and that I will like it, because I really don't want to be disappointed by another one of her books. Okay, so that is it for all of our contemporary romances that are on this list, which again, I just think the season really lends itself to contemporary romances. There are lots of rom-coms and lots of romances that are set during the summer, so it really is a perfect time to read them. Now, I do have some other books that have elements of romance in them that are on this list, but they aren't necessarily contemporary romance. So I do have a couple of cozy fantasies on this list. The first one is Homegrown Magic, and I recently picked this up from Barnes and Noble. And this says that it is a cozy greenhouse tale with entirely too many strawberries and one mechanical steed. And I do believe that this is a queer romance, but I just knew that this was on Barnes and Noble's Read with Pride table, so I knew that there would be some element of queer romance in this one. And I honestly think that this is going to be really sweet. I kind of wanted something that was fantasy related, but would be more of a brain break. And I recently read another book. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but I received it as an ARC, and it was about some folks who were in a baking competition, and there was a romance element, and it was the same kind of like cozy fantasy, and I really, really enjoyed that. I honestly always want to read more cozy fantasies, and for some reason I just never pick them up. So I thought it would be perfect to add this to the list of things that I wanted to read before the end of the summer. And I also just read The Spell Shop, and I really loved that. So I thought this might have some of those same vibes to it. So really looking forward to reading this one. And this was a newer addition to the physical TBR. So I think it will be great to just go ahead and read it right away and not let it sit on my TBR for a long time. And then I have another cozy fantasy that includes romance that I know 100% is sapphic, and that's A Pirate's Life for Tea. So I did read the first book in the series a while ago, back in like December, probably, when I did my sapphic romance reading vlog. And this is the second book in the series. I have honestly wanted to read this for a while. I think I picked it up back in February because I was going to read it for my romance reading vlog, and I never got around to it. So I just feel like it's time. Summer's coming to a close. What better time to read a pirate themed cozy fantasy with a cute romance? And from the first book, I already know that the writing and the relationships between the characters are so, so cute. So I really feel like this is a perfect summer read. Now, this next book is a historical fiction, and it does have a romance in it. And the reason that I want to read this book as soon as possible is because it was actually recommended to me by a friend months and months and months ago, and I bought it right away. And then life just happened. I was in my reading slump. A bunch of my Libby holds came up at the same time, and I shelved it on the physical TBR and just never got around to it. And so I feel like it is time, and I honestly feel like I am doing such a disservice to my friend who recommended this to me, because I have wanted to read this the entire time, and I'm really disappointed that I haven't yet. And that is The House of Eve. And I'll read you the synopsis because I think this sounds like such a good read. So, in 1950s Philadelphia, 15-year-old Ruby Pearsall is on track to becoming the first in her family to attend college, but a taboo love affair threatens to pull her back down into the poverty and desperation that has been passed on to her like a birthright. Eleanor Quarles arrives in Washington, D.C. with ambition and secrets. When she meets the handsome William Pride at Howard University, they fall madly in love. But William hails from one of DC's elite wealthy black families, and his parents don't let just anyone into their fold. Eleanor hopes that a baby will make her finally feel at home in William's family and grant her the life she's been searching for. But having a baby and fitting in is easier said than done. With their stories colliding in the most unexpected of ways, Ruby and Eleanor will both make decisions that change the trajectory of their lives. And just for the record, there's a quote on here from Taylor Jenkins Reid saying that this was a heartrending story. And y'all know, if TJR is saying it's good, it's got to be good, because I am obsessed with TJR's books. But even more than that, I just trust the recommendation from my friend. So I feel terrible that I haven't gotten to this yet, and I really want to get that guilt off of my shoulders. And I also think that I am going to enjoy this book. So definitely want to do my friend justice and read this book very soon, before the end of the month. So out of all the books on this summer TBR, this is definitely the one that I am the most motivated to get to. Now, the next two books, actually, the next three books that are on this list, are all books that were on a previous TBR of mine before I entered my reading slump, and I have still really been wanting to read them. And so the first of those is Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I honestly feel like everybody and their mom has read this book, and there are lots of mixed opinions about it. And based on what I have heard about Sally Rooney, I definitely think that she is going to be an author for me. I think I'm really going to enjoy her writing style. So this book is way too small and has been on my TBR too long for me to continue to ignore it. And again, I feel like there is no reason for me not to get to this in the next month before summer kind of comes to a close. So that is making a resurgence because I definitely want to get it off of my physical TBR, which it already should have been off of my physical TBR a couple months ago. So that's next on the stack. And in the same TBR video, I also pulled Anxious People by Friedrich Bachman, which if you haven't heard of this book, you must not be on Book Talk or on BookTube because so many people have read Anxious People and in general have read Friedrich Bachman's books. And I actually have a couple of his books on my physical TBR and I haven't read any of them. So I want to go back and try to check this off of my TBR. This, just like Normal People, has been on my TBR for way too long, and it's time for me to finally read it because I do have major FOMO and I need to know if I'm going to love Friedrich Bachman as much as everyone else does. So really excited to get to this, and I do feel pretty confident that I will get to it soon. And then finally, from that same TBR video, I also chose Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby to read. And this is more of a mystery thriller, but I know that it has some very serious themes throughout, and it's really heartbreaking in the topics that it covers. So I have really, really been wanting to read this. And since having this on my physical TBR, I've also learned more about S.A. Cosby and him being from Virginia and his story. And so just kind of connecting with the author through getting to know him more through videos and such really, really made me more motivated to get to reading this. So I'm honestly disappointed that I didn't read this sooner when it was on my physical TBR, but I think I have the opportunity to correct that now and read this. And I also recently got his newest release through a subscription box. So I definitely want to read this and make sure that he is an author that I'm going to want to continue to read. And then the last book on my list of books that I really want to get to before the end of the summer is Small Boat. And this is not on the TBR because it's set on a boat. This is on the TBR because I hunted and hunted and hunted for this book, and it took me forever to get my hands on it, but I have been wanting to read it so badly. And this is a pretty short book, but it deals with some pretty serious topics, and it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize. So I definitely want to take the time to read this and annotate it and really sit with the book to gather my thoughts about it. And so I would like to do that during the summer while I feel like I have the time to dedicate to it. And I worked so hard to get this on my TBR. So I feel like there is no reason for me not to read it now and to move it to the top of my list after I tried so hard for months to find a copy of this book. So Small Boat is going to be the last book on the list of books that I want to get to before the end of summer. So in total, that was 16 books that I really want to read before the end of summer. And I will say, with books this size, I would consider these all to be fairly short books. I do tend to read about 16 books per month. So I don't think it's impossible for me to get to all of the books that we went through today. Although I will give myself some grace. By no means is this a TBR. I'm not tacking these on to my August TBR, but I would like to get through as many of these books in addition to my physical TBR for August as possible. So with that being said, I would love to know if there are books that you're hoping to get to before the end of the summer. And I would also love to know if you feel the same way that I do about seasonal reads. Are you someone who can read a book in any season, regardless of the genre or the setting? Or are you someone that prefers to read based on your mood in different seasons? Let me know your answers to those questions down in the comments. And of course, if you liked today's video, make sure that you like and subscribe for more bookish content. And as always, thank you so, so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.